Yeah, I mean, my notes that I put up this week, pretty short. Obviously, today was a pretty exciting day on our team side to get our new missions out. So that's been, I'll say, the bulk focus outside of the optimization side. So we'll kind of start there. In blockchain, specifically, with regards to Solana, there's a certain percentage chance of a transaction being passed through or created once it's originated. Doesn't pass through on the first shot. You do retries and all that fun stuff, but it does use up resources, and Sloth actually took it upon himself to go through and optimize all of our tools. I think we were around an 85% pass-through rate, so it's pretty good. But for the chain, I mean, that leaves some room to improve. And so far, everything in Fortuna, staking, flip, and redeem chests have been updated. We are dangerously close to 95% now from a pass-through rate. A pretty significant improvement. The goal is to get as close to 100 as possible. There's really only a few more, I'll say, bigger transaction sides that will end up optimizing to get us closer to that goal. But in all honesty, a 10% increase in a week, a little more than a week, is fantastic. So just wanted to give shout out to Sloth for the hard work there. It's impressive. I think one of the more complicated ones was our chest redemption. I put a note in announcements, but also just like a reminder. But if you've used any of those tools and you haven't done like a hard refresh, for the most part, I think they've been changed long enough that your computer would naturally just do like a hard refresh for the sites that you're on. But if not, I'd recommend doing a hard refresh, and that should improve your overall experience using these specific tools that we have. I think the ones that are used the most frequently before Fortuna and Flip. Yeah, and then the biggest thing is that our new missions are live. I did want to take some time to kind of go through all the points that I put up in our announcements this week. Maybe kind of circle back on some of the information that I've talked about on the Moon Show or talked about in DCs in the past. If there's any doubts or if people have any questions, feel free to drop them. I'm more than happy to answer what I can, provide some general guidance. And anything that I can't answer, I can't imagine there's much, I'll make sure to get an answer for and throw it up, anywhere public or whatnot. I'm sure if you have a question about something, there's probably at least another, if not 10 people that have similar questions. So I will say, text warning, the next slide definitely has a bit of text on it, but I think it covers everything in here. So starting off with the first point here, it's a single mission. It's similar to how our raids were before. It's not first come, first serve. There is a window of time that is open for launching foxes onto this mission. And the success of each fox is independent from one another. So it's not the combined power of your squad against other squads. It is every fox for themselves. And I think that helps in general with the rough numbers of our emissions that we have expected. Each we'll call a mission, each mission that launches, and the foxes that become successful and obtain chests versus those that do not. But basically, if you're not successful to get chests, you will still get the fame. So that's an important distinction with this. It's kind of combining the best of both worlds between the old missions that your fox could normally go on and the fame only missions that, if your fox wasn't eligible for a mission to get chests, they'd be able to go on the fame only. So this is kind of the best of both worlds. And I would even say a step beyond, but I'll leave that actually for the last point here because I do have that listed. You have from Sunday to Monday to send your foxes on the mission. There's also a countdown in there as a reminder. So I'll be the first to kind of, throw out there's a chance that some foxes won't be able to go on this first mission. If they were late at launching missions last week, there's not a crazy amount of things that we can do that won't impact the cadence of these missions. I would just say, you can just stake your fox for that last couple of days, 3 days, 4 days, to get Foxy off of our native staking site, and then next week be ready to run your foxes into the mission. Foxes go on missions from Sunday to Sunday, so that is a change. It used to be Sunday to Saturday, and then you'd have that day to throw foxes into staking. That's no longer the case. There's a combination of reasons that we do that, but basically, the next mission will be ready by the time you can claim your foxes. So you claim, send them off, and then kind of rinse and repeat every week. So it'll maybe change up the weekly schedule, a little bit for foxes. Okay, this shows you when it closes right now. Yeah, and then that'll change to show you when the mission officially ends after the mission is live. The biggest change with this is power. Each fox has their own power. Power is a concatenate of a few things. At its core, it really just displays for each individual fox their strength. I mean, comparing foxes to foxes, which you don't really have a great gauge on, but how successful you might be on a mission. It does still add to that gamified element. I think if we gave away too much information, people would either be more inclined to stake their foxes for just Foxy for the week versus, at least going for the fame, which could probably get into a dangerous cycle, or, could have people wait until the last minute, for stronger foxes to put them off into the missions, to kind of mess with the numbers. So, yeah. But at its core, base power is the rarity of the traits for your fox. They have different scores. So a common trait is 1, uncommon is 2, rare is 3, and epic is 4. By default, any 1 of 1 fox, including friends and foes, and including 1 of 1s for TFFs and FFFs, have a base of 20. So for a non-summoned fox, and I don't know how many of them exist, but a 4 epic trait fox would be 16. If it's any kind of combination, and a 4 common fox is 4, you would take the score of the traits, multiply it by their level, and that will give you their base power. So every fox, will really have a different base power. There is the chance, of course, that your fox and another fox that have the same, score for rarity on traits and the same level will have the same power. Highly likely, but even at max level for every fox, the powers still will be different. It will be favored more towards the rarer trait foxes that have multiples, and of course the 1 of 1s or friends and foes collection, which are also technically 1 of 1s. There are additional boosts for this, so you can get boosts from your dens. There's another line in here, a couple down from there. Dens add a power boost of 1/10 of their total score. So for the 1 of 1 dens, they are very powerful now. They have a score of 7777. So 1/10 of that is 777. That is a very high base score for a fox. So those dens become very powerful for helping foxes when they go off on missions. Of course, there's only a few of them, so there's only so many people that get that benefit. The higher the score with rooms, etc., the better the boost will be. So that's to encourage people to add more rooms to their dens, especially as you get them from missions. Essentially, kind of improve like the room economy some for dens. The other point too is that right below this, that rooms themselves without a den, you can still add their point value, their whole point value to your fox's power, but they're a one-time use and burn. So they do have their own little like icon that shows you're going to burn it when you go to use it. They do not get dispatched automatically, so you can't just assign all dens. Rooms get picked automatically, and then you burn them by accident. You have to go in and assign rooms to foxes. So it is an extra step, and there is a little burn icon. So I know there were a couple of people mentioning, of doing that and not realizing it. It's a little bit of a manual process. I'll try to reach out to some folks to kind of figure out, more specifics around like what they had done. And odds are most of the time it's going to be they haven't read the information or understand it. We might put in like another buffer screen just so people like are double sure they are okay with burning their rooms. But they're one-time use. So for sure, for unique rooms and such, I would highly recommend against burning them for a one-time use, because you're even if you burn it, you're not guaranteed that you're going to be successful in that mission. So it's a long way of me saying be cautious when using rooms, but there is a place, I think, in the future when dens are pretty loaded up on rooms that burning them will make sense, especially because there's only 3,000 dens. So there's a lot more room for foxes to one-time use rooms in order to be potentially successful for a mission. Yeah, one point, so I'm just going back up a couple. Power determines your chance of being successful. The higher the power, the more likely a fox is to be successful. But the caveat there is, even the strongest foxes can fail their missions. So I wouldn't expect it to be a common occurrence, but it will happen. It's a law of averages style mechanism. So, that's just one way of putting it out there. There's only so many chests that will be emitted every week, and based off the number of foxes that go on missions, if the stars align and there's, say, 5,000 chests worth of foxes that are launched on a mission, every fox is going to be successful. There's a certain number of chests that we're planning on giving out, and that might get adjusted weekly. But based off of the number of foxes that get launched on missions and all that fun stuff, there's a chance that everyone passes. Only a certain subset passes. A lower subset passes if a ton of foxes go on it. I think that's kind of going to be the fun part to this, and with it being active and everything every week, with only a certain time window for getting foxes into, it will benefit those that are at least active on a weekly basis, which is also true for missions, but just from a different angle. So things to consider with the new missions. And then the other point here, before jumping to the last one, each week there's 2 traits that will be randomly selected to add bonuses to fox scores. If either of those allows for matching, so for example, cope. If you have both a cope hoodie and a cope hat, which there are multiple foxes out there like that, they're additive. So if that's a 10% bonus, your fox gets 20% bonus for that week. This week, for example, is shirt, t-shirt, and crown. If you have a crown with a shirt or t-shirt, you get plus 15% for that fox. So it's 5 for the shirt and 10 for the crown. So they are additive, and that obviously will differentiate 2 foxes that are identical from each other if one has the traits for that week versus those that don't. Again, a little bit of a gamified side, and meant to benefit some, but that will change on a weekly basis. The last point here, I know I mentioned it a little bit, that foxes will get fame regardless of success or failure. There is a hover over for the fame rates that will show you what the tranches are and how much fame you get through them. There have been plenty of screenshots posted in at least Alpha. I'm not sure if in the Federation too, but folks I think were kind of surprised by it. I think the one thing that's kind of a bigger takeaway too is if you're not familiar with the experience chart, I would highly recommend kind of checking that out. I know Poet had created a guide that breaks down the experience, and I should actually double check to see if he just goes to 99 or if he has it listed out to 120, because we have both. If not, you can always Google RuneScape's experience table, as ours is mapped after that. Once you get to higher levels, it is a lot more of a grind keeping the fame rate too low. So we did a couple of things. I mean, I think some of the more powerful foxes, are going to be in the 80 to 90 range before 90, because you'll be able to transfer off that fox to other foxes up until you get to 90. After 90, you can't transfer out, you can transfer in. And that, I think, will kind of make it a little fun and competitive at the top. The rates are high for leveling up once you get to that point. And that's also true for the amount of experience needed for each individual level. Running rough numbers, just to give some folks an idea of the current scale, a brand new Fox level 0 with no den running missions every single week would take a year to get to level 90. So it would take 52 full weeks, and that's not off of optimizing things. It's not off of using a den. It's not off of using fame transfer. That's just a brand new single fox going off and doing missions without a den. And so that was kind of a little bit of a benchmark that I had set to get to something that I feel is an accomplishment. And then I don't think I've included it in the announcements much, but we're planning on doing something a little fun from an aesthetic standpoint for level 99 and also level 120. So there's other milestones hit beyond getting a tier 3 with missions. So that's something that we'll announce more and kind of touch on more later. It hasn't really been built out much yet, but that was something that we've talked about recently, of trying to add in more benchmarks for people, to kind of accomplish, even if it's aesthetic. If it's aesthetic plus, that's kind of yet to be determined, but there will be more information on that in the coming months. And because of the high fame rates and the levels and such and the competitive angle, I know I mentioned it, but it's in here, that level 90 plus won't be able to transfer out onto other foxes. We are starting that Friday. We're giving a little bit of a heads up because there are a few foxes, I think 2 foxes that are above 90 that could transfer fame off if they want to. So we just wanted to give the littlest bit of a heads up before the first mission hits through and they get the bonus fame rate associated to them. So, all right, that was a lot there. I'm gonna pause for a minute. All right, let's see. First question in chat here is from Clark. How are the successful missions calculated as off-chain? Yeah, right now I have to double check with Sloth. I think the ones we ran on test are off-chain. I believe at least this first week that we're going to run is off-chain. I have to see if we're planning on changing that to make it on-chain. I don't remember if it was a cost thing or anything along those lines, but just to determine who won, who did not win. But yeah, our tests that we did were off-chain, and I believe the last we had spoke, we're at least starting it off-chain. Alcep's telling me there is no 4 epic foxes. Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure. That makes a lot of sense, especially because that would be pretty difficult to mint from our OG or TFFs. Do you recommend adding dens to low profile? Yeah, see, my wife asked me that too earlier. It's a good question, WRD. I could tell you my strategy, and I actually thought about it as I was reading off the notes from the Fame side. I think adding dens to lower powered foxes, especially higher scoring dens, is probably a pretty good strategy off the jump. But I would say this, man, the fame rates, the fame rates are just, once you get to, I would say like 70 plus, pretty fucking juicy, especially 80 to 89, which is, I'm gonna say like a pretty high target to get to. Yeah, that extra fame is just pretty juicy. I mean, from 70 to 79, you're talking 75K fame. Even transferring that out with a, decent reduction, I mean, can certainly help the lower foxes that you have kind of bump up their OG levels. So I would say it's probably a combination between higher scoring dens to lower level foxes, and then like dens that you have that are like low point values and such, putting them on, anyone, I would say that's like 70 plus, just to get that fame bonus. Maybe 60 plus too, but 70 plus is definitely, I mean, the bonus on 70 is more than what it would be from 60 to 69. I guess it's the same thing working your way down, but just to give an idea on sizing. There isn't a rough threshold. The question is, what power rate has the highest chance of success? Is there a rough threshold? It is purely based off of the foxes that go into the mission. If there's only, there's going to be more than 1,000 foxes, but if there's only 1,000 foxes that go in the mission, every one of them is going to be successful. So it doesn't matter if your power is 10 or 10,000. But if there's, 10,000 foxes that go on the mission, it's going to change the dynamics up quite a bit. So, it really depends on the full crew of foxes that end up going on missions. I think that's what makes it more fun personally, but maybe I'm a little cynical with that. But great question. I mean, I'd really be curious too if other people have different ideas on maximizing and all that kind of fun stuff. You guys probably won't give away trade secrets until you figure out something that works well. A question from Tooth: will this mission structure affect staking now? Since some may prefer going on missions rather than staking as before. If your fox is at high enough level, you would just stake it until it's ready for a main mission. I was surprised someone had posted our stats for staking. They are still pretty high, which I'm impressed by. And that could be for quite a few reasons. I mean, a lot of people might have forgotten that foxes still even exist. Might not know that they have them staked with how the NFT market has been. But, I mean, in my opinion, it still really just depends on the person. Putting it into a mission and forgetting about it, for months versus somebody that wants to be like a bit more passive than what it already is, I think just makes more sense for them to stake it. So I think this is just a way of us becoming a little more flexible with those that are brand new or want to be a new owner and have some fun and be active, which I think is one of the more important things for running the new missions. As you have to do something every week. Whereas if somebody had just say one fox and they knew what the traits were for it, they would just look for the mission announcements on Wednesdays to see when their traits came up, and then they would go throw those foxes into missions on Sunday. Now they have something to do every week, which is both a blessing and a curse. But if they forget about them and leave them on, a mission, if they are successful, they'll still get their rewards. And if they just don't run them on other missions, that'll just give others, a higher chance to potentially be successful on that future mission, which is also a benefit to those that are more active. Rogue, is there a set number of chests submitted per week? Right now there is. I don't think it matters to tell the number. It's 8,000 per week, which ends up being about 32,000 for 4 weeks or about a month. About the same average that it's been for our regular missions in the past. So we're keeping right now the rate about the same. That's subject to change. But yeah, 8,000 right now is our target to emit. It's not over 9,000 pugs, you're wrong. So would there be a situation where an FFF successfully completes their mission and gets chest rewards, but it's also 4 chests? Claw, good question. That answer is no. So if a Fox is successful, they get the number of chests that they would be owed, like based off of their level and trait upgrades that they've done. If they fail, they won't get any. So it's an all or nothing per Fox. Not per chest. Coffee. It's Foxy Lend obsolete now. I was thinking maybe you guys can make Fox's traits are chosen and be eligible for Lend, and maybe give them a lower boost to 3%, but a blanket boost just for the whole squad being sent. Just a thought. Yeah, Foxy Lend I knew was going to be a question for people, and I'm not going to say it's obsolete. I'm going to say that we are debating about what to do with Foxy Lend. I think we'll get to a point, and I could be wrong, but we'll get to a point where we give the option for people to list their foxes on Foxy Lend and let people go and rent them for that mission, knowing that the success rate is purely based off of the power stats for that fox, and it's not a guaranteed reward. I think that's the more difficult piece for us. But if everyone knows that it's not guaranteed, I mean, that would impact the pricing for Foxy Lend. It really wouldn't change much of anything else, and I think the pricing essentially would be reflective based off of power and such. It's something where there isn't a guaranteed reward. So for us, we didn't initially put it in there of just wanting people to kind of mess around with missions as they are, and then maybe test the waters, see how it goes, change up our general strategy from there. So I'm not going to say it's obsolete for sure, but I'm going to say it's got a pin put in it. Yeah, the boost side and traits and all that fun stuff, I mean, that would just impact their total power. So renting a Fox, you would just essentially get it into that wallet from an escrow standpoint as to what you can do with it, just like you would a normal Foxy Lend. And then you have to select that Fox. Maybe you can add a den to it or not. It really is up to you, and launch on a mission. But the caveat there would be that Fox would get the fame based off of being with a den or without a den. So that would be purely based off of the borrower for that Fox. And the bigger trap would be if people purposefully borrowed Foxes that are listed for cheap Foxy and don't even send them off onto the missions to give their own Foxes a chance at being more successful. So again, it creates a whole different dynamic without guaranteed rewards. So it's something that we'll play around with, just not right off the bat. Another question from Claw. Fox levels change the fame earned through missions. Level 10 Fox making less fame than level 50. Yeah, so Claw, if you jump, I'm sure someone has already answered that, but if you go to the little information circle next to fame based off Fox level, and if you don't see that, you can do a hard refresh, and it should show up there on the missions page. Right now it's called the Stone from the Sword, or the Sword from the Stone. Hover over that eye, it'll show you the breakdown, and it's in tranches, so it's every 10 levels. I guess 1 to 9 is technically 9 levels. I just paid a day for T1 on summons. Not yet, Alsep. I have to revert back with Yaomon to cover a few things on that. Poor Kish. I'm guessing that was for the borrowing low Foxy foxes and not sending them on missions. Um, Maybe a little bit. Unrelated missions. How does cashing in a Sleek Geek figure work? Oh, okay. Cashing in a Sleek Geek figure. There is a what you get if you're talking about getting the tokens from chests. There's a form on the redeem page on the left hand side. If you click on that, you can select the Sleek Geeks token, and basically you send us it's a placeholder token. The only reason we did that is because you have two options between the FASA one or the Cope one, and we'll send you the NFT token for it that you can then go redeem from their website. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I still think they have $30 shipping, which I think is crazy. But you just have to pay the shipping fee and you'll get it for free. You don't have to pay anything extra for the figurine. Oh, I think you mean consumables. Consumables, we haven't fleshed out everything yet for them. I'll give this as like a little bit of a teaser. We recognize that in general NFTs are pretty in the shitter. So one of the things that I think we'll do first from a company side or consumable side is actually other collections, other NFT collections out there. I think we're going to run kind of like promo weeks where like SMB holders can put their or assign their SMB to a Fox, to accompany them on a mission and give them a fixed increase in power, or insert some of the more popular collections that are out there, Mad Lads, Tensorians, whoever, DAA, I mean, you name it, from some of the other top projects, especially ones that are similar holders. I think that'll be quite fun for other NFT projects that are out there. We're not the only ones, in the market, and I think it would be pretty helpful. And I'm sure y'all have bags of other things that would be fun to accompany Foxes on missions. You won't spend them, I will say that. You don't have to give us your NFTs as a one-time use. They'll go back to you, but I think it'd be fun to kind of activate some other communities. Beyond that, yeah, I mean, our plan is to add in, different collectible items, essentially right off the bat that we'll be able to count as those bonus multipliers, the 5% or 10%, crown, for example. You can get some kind of a consumable crown to add to your Fox to give it a 10% boost. It would be a one-time use, but things of that nature that will get added into the ecosystem. I will say eventually, not off the jump, but eventually. And so that way you can get different things in chests. You might want to sell them, you might want to hold them, you might want to use them, but it's going to be kind of fun to kind of increase your success chances, at the same time give things other than Foxy that you're getting from chests, which I think people would really appreciate. Split the fame and apply it to one of your Foxes. That would be interesting. You mean the spaceship thing? I think for Stoned Ape Crew that they made up. I'll be honest with you that I need to do a little more research on the specifics as to what that spaceship can do. I know it's within their ecosystem as to what you can actually do with it. I thought you meant consumables in general, like we had talked before, that Foxes can use. We are still planning on doing that, so I'm gonna send out rogue NFTs for a boost. That'd be funny, Calder. Set it up for people to burn NFTs as like a pretty decent like one-time boost. But it would have to be something that's identified as like less than, I don't know, 0.1 sold or whatever from the marketplace. It's tough, right? Like, this isn't something. I mean, we've been talking about this for a minute. We're not trying to time a market with it. The objective here, right, is to activate more Foxes, give you guys something fun to do, especially for those that have lesser Foxes, or people that might want to join a community and do something a little different. I think for what TFF prices are, for what Fox prices are, I mean, compared to what they've been in the past and things, I mean, it's just something fun and different. I mean, every other fucking collection just wants to do token generated events and, ride that to fucking zero. So we might as well have some fun and kind of do something different. I mean, we don't have to do stupid shit like that goes nowhere. So the ruggier, the higher the boost you get. I think in that case, what Balloonsville probably get you a pretty good boost. Burn TFFs. 2 TFFs together, still get 1 chest, so you get something together. See, I love these ideas. I love the collaborations we can have on a Sunday night. Man, I appreciate the questions though. I mean, I think you guys are pretty spot on them. Hopefully too. I know I saw some questions in Fox chat. I'll say right around when we launched missions. So that's why I added some of those texts in here. But by all means, if there's some clarifying questions and things along those lines that we don't really have spelled out that well, just let me know. All right, let me jump back in here. I know I have. What else do I have in here? I put the Fame transfer update reminder in here as well. The main reason I did this was just because the other point that I had in the last slide of just to kind of hammer home, and again, it really only matters for a couple of people right now, but that's the transfers from level 90 plus Foxes won't be allowed starting this coming Friday, 6/21. So anyone that's got some Fame 190 plus Foxes, make sure you transfer that off if you're planning on it. If not, just ride it up. But then I put the rest of the structure that we have in here. So just as a reminder, 20% for the base Foxes that are under level 40. And that's the penalty that you get for Fame transfer from any Fox to another. After level 40 becomes 30%, and then at level 60 it becomes 50%, and at level 80 it becomes 66%. So that's between the same Foxes. It's also, now you can see with the Fame rates, more understandable, especially from the higher side. And then transferring between different types of Foxes, so between FFF and TFFs, will double the values with a hard cap at 80%. So really that it hits it at level 60, that you get to that 80% cap for Fame transfer. But just as a reminder for folks that are doing Fame transfer for a little bit of leveling here and there, to keep an eye out for what those penalty rates are for Fame transfer. And then the last thing that I'll include each week for VCs is just the mission bonus traits. So this week, I know I mentioned it before in our text, but we've got shirt, t-shirt at 5% and crown at 10%. I thought this graphic was super close. I know he's got the sweater on the left, which is meant to represent the green sweater. But I thought this graphic was almost perfect. You got the crown Fox, and then you got the almost t-shirt shirt Fox in one perfect graphic. But yeah, those are the traits for this week, and that's everything that I was planning on talking about. So aside from questions, which I think I've covered almost all of them, do failed squads get deleted? No, only your Foxes get deleted, Pug. Cool. Well, in that case, since I know I'm going to get really close, actually beyond 9:30, let me switch this over.
Let's go. Thanks for shouting out the Moon Show also.
Yeah, of course. You guys do a bang-up job. Thursday nights, Foxes, 10 o'clock. Be there or you're not a Fox. It's verifiably true.